And we're live. And it's Sunday night. What's happening, guys? How is everybody tonight? Oh, looks like we got a bunch of people already in here. Welcome all. This is probably going to be a short live tonight, guys. We got the puppy the other day, and I threw my back out. So this has been like nonstop insanity for the last few days. Mexican Spec, what's happening? Dean Stevenson. Marcus Waldner, what's happening, brother? KJ Kiley. Oh, there's so many. I don't know. I'm going to say hi to everybody. Marcus Waldner. The Kickendale. What's happening to Kickendale? I haven't seen your name in a while. Nordic Warrior. Yes. 72 Z28. Tony looks made. That Ford wrench for the drink. I don't even know what. Oh, Kathy. I don't even know what the picture is. I'm always surprised by the picture. Mopaman 78, what's happening? Mexican Spec, did I say hello to you? I'm sure I did. Scoop, Joker, yes, okay. Yeah, so new puppy. She's a handful. Let's see, let me scroll down here. I know. Oh, Kerosene Cucumbers, Dakota's Timeout. Oh, lots of familiar names popping in here. Ford LTD, Glenn Webster, howdy. Cheap Roland, did he get a new pup? I certainly did. Her name is Amelia May, and Kathy will bring her in shortly. Randy Bull, what's happening? You built a 440 now for your 64 Belvedere. Excellent. I have a 440 build. It's sitting on the stand. It's actually been sitting around for a while. I was going to do this like last year, and then we got just sidetracked with all sorts of stuff. But there is a hyper low dollar built from completely secondhand junk throwaway Facebook Marketplace parts 440 build coming. And actually, it should be pretty freaking stout for very short money. Because like we did that 383, but the 383 was just to put it together the way it was, right? So there's nothing crazy about it. This 440 is actually going to be a pretty strong motor. And it's going to be built entirely from throwaways. Joker, is Amelia related to Winnie and Molly? Yes, they all have the same dad. They all have the same father. Archerton Arrow, I'm the best. God bless. Well, thank you. So I appreciate that. Oscar Gonzalez, what's happening, brother, man? Let's see. Oh, a Mexican Spec was going to be live tonight. It says in some way tonight. Oh my God, it's a puppy. And it's Kathy Bananas, Cinnamon Bananas is her street name. And this is Amelia May. And she's 6 weeks and she's just like 6.5 weeks old. And she's already chasing the other ones around the yard. She's a wild thing. Come here, show them your face. Show them your face. Look at that face. Oh, she's beautiful. All right. So, hello. Oh, yes, bite my nose. No, you're not gonna bite my nose? Okay. So that's Amelia May. And you guys already know Winnie and Molly. So here, take her back. Yes. She's already like attacking the other dogs. Like I had her in the yard a little while ago, and she's already like, you know. Border Collies are about to outnumber XJs. Let me tell. Listen, guys. I'm completely honest with you. Okay, I have done a lot of stuff I've done a lot of stuff. Okay, a lot of stuff. I hit the ground running, and I haven't had a day off since. Honestly, that's what it is, right? Border Collies are the best thing I have ever done. No question about it. No question about it. The best thing I've ever done. They're amazing. So Zero's in the house. What's happening, Zero? Did you see Amelia May, Zero? Do it brings you joy. There's no better a border. I'm telling you, they're different than other dogs. I love all dogs, right? I'm a total dog person, okay? But border collies are different. They're not like any other dog. They have so much personality. They have so much freaking energy. They keep you young, you know, and they're smart. I mean, smart. It's just that they're amazing. They're a lot of fun. Oh, Zero, it's your mom's 82nd birthday today. Happy birthday, Mom Zero. You and the family about to eat. So, man, go, man, enjoy the family. Give Mom a kiss for me. Most Ron Ward, what's happening, brother? So do we get any premiums watching tonight? Yeah, my puppy. I showed you a puppy. She's adorable. Fubar. I didn't see you sneak in there, brother. How are you? Dave Bowen loves the new dog. She's awesome. She's just beautiful, man. They come out like so. A friend was telling me yesterday, he breeds border collies, and he was like, he knew of one that at 7 weeks old was trying to drive a tractor. It was following his owners, like the way he would sit and put his hands on the wheel and stuff like that. And the dog at 7 weeks old was standing on the seat with his hands on the steering wheel, his paws on the steering wheel, trying to drive the tractor. They're just amazing. Todd Denio, I love dogs, but I refuse to get another one because I can't take care of one which isn't fair to the dog. Absolutely. So do the next best thing, man. Go volunteer at the shelter every once in a while. I'm sure you've got a local shelter, and I'm positive they're underhanded, understaffed, or whatever. So go to the shelter every once in a while and experience dogs that way. Let's see. Fred Gomez, hello from Normal, Illinois, home of the Rivian. And he's still building those things? Ford, as usual, Tony ignores. What am I ignoring? Ford rules CD Burlock. I'm going to scroll up and see what I'm ignoring here. Well, I'm not ignoring anything. I don't see anything from you. I don't know. Try it again, brother, man. Try it again. Josh Homan, that dog might be a better driver than many of the humans out here. Dude, no lie, okay? No lie. It's freaking crazy. Mostly our former roommate moved out and left the dog. Best dog I've ever had. He's a nut. Mopar Dennis listening along while doing his taxes. That time of the year. Joker, the movie Rescued by Ruby was a nice movie about a story of an adopted collie breed dog that became a canine. So I have a similar story. 18 years ago, or thereabouts, 20 years ago, I found a German Shepherd puppy. She was like, bigger than, more. She was probably about 4 or 5 months old, right? And I found her roaming around on the street, so I brought her home. And I had 3 of the dogs at the time, and they did not get along. But she was beautiful, perfect, like you just couldn't imagine. She had the greatest temperament, but I had to find her a home. So, because there was war, constant war, right? So I had a buddy of mine, Ralph the cop, who works for the sheriff's department here, and he had a German Shepherd also. So he says, let me see if the guy who trains the dogs for the department might be interested in her. So he took the dog, and the sheriff's department trainer met her, fell in love with her, and trained her as a cadaver dog. And she became like the cadaver dog, the Rutherford County cadaver dog. So she ended up in really good hands. But yeah, I'm a dog person. I'm a dog person. Before anything else, my dogs go first. World of Woodchip, 4-speed Sportster cam cover stuck on the front dowel pin. Beat it with a mallet. Oh God, how is it stuck on a dowel pin? I don't know if I beat it with a mallet. You can't get a fine. a fine screwdriver and a fine tip flathead screwdriver and just get in between and tap, 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 tap. It should free up. Heat it. Heat it. Use like a propane or a MAP gas torch and just heat around the area and let it expand, and then it should pop right off. You didn't think of that, did you? Right? Let's see. Road crashes, road runner garage. What's happening, brother? Ron Ward is asking, Tony, have you always had dogs or just since you moved to TN? I'm going to tell you, at one point, I did not like dogs. I was not that I didn't like them. I had no interest in dogs. And I had one of my neighbors when I lived in New York. This is in the middle 90s, early 90s. One of my neighbors had beagles that they used for hunting. Okay, we lived in New York City, but they would go upstate and go hunting, right? So one of the beagles had a bad eye, one eye, okay? And they were going to get rid of this dog. They were going to, eliminate the dog. And I was like, oh, no, you can't do that. There's a happy dog, right? So we adopted him. And I learned to hate that dog. Me and that dog were always at war with each other. We hated each other, okay? It was like an alpha male type of thing, right? We were always at war with each other. So I still didn't like dogs, but I didn't want to see any harm to come to this one, right? So make a long story short, then Kathy, we figured, well, he needs a playmate. He needs another dog. So Kathy went and adopted a beagle, female beagle. We named her Daisy, and Daisy crawled under my skin and stayed there. So from that point forward, yes, I became a total dog person. So it's been a while now. It's been a while now. Let's see. AK Crazy Fool Tony, I run a machine shop in Fairbanks, Alaska. Cold. Gotta say, I love the channel. It keeps me grounded. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Used to race when I was doing fuel altereds back in the 1990s. There was the Bowden stats. They were from Fairbanks, Alaska, with a fuel altered. They used to have to, because there was no, you only have like 1 or 2 drag strips in Alaska, and they would have to tow like whatever it was, like 5,000 miles to make a match race. But they would pop up every once in a while. Gary Bodenstadt, I think it was. Really, really nice people. Let's see. That's a good one. My brother and his wife adopted a one-eyed Jack Russell Terrier. They named him Squint Eastwood. Excellent. Scoop, I like those lowrider dogs you see at the funny dog races. We have a couple of them at the club. And like there's one of them like does like agility. You little short little legs, dogs this long, legs that big, and it jumps over stuff and does all of the agility things. That was a freaking riot to watch. Robert, are they drag strips in Alaska? There's at least one that I know of, and it's like something out of a postcard. Whenever you see pictures of this place, it's got like the mountains in the background. It's just beautiful. But I don't know anything about like their season, how long they're able to run, or anything like that. But I'm sure that our friend from Alaska could elaborate on that. Oh, my brother, it's Normal James. Yes, but it all started with Dodge. Okay, yes, you're right about that. I had a dog named Dodge, or we named him Dodge, when I had my first shop. I was 19 and moved into a shop on Old Amboy Road behind a Rite-Aid shop. And I don't remember how I ended up with this dog. The kid that worked for me, his name was Petey Suck. And he had this dog and he couldn't keep it. So I adopted him and kept him as a shop dog. But then I only kept him as a shop dog. When I moved out of that shop, my father took him and kept him for really his whole life. But yeah, Dodge was actually my first dog. Sasquatch Hunter TV. Are you really a Bigfoot hunter, man? They had they had not too long ago. There's a TV show called Hunting Bigfoot. I don't know the name of it, but they actually shot an episode like right up the road over here at the Cedars of Lebanon State Park. Evidently, somebody had seen a Bigfoot up there, so they shot a whole episode. Stephen Belleville, shop dogs are the best. I have one here that may end up becoming a shop dog because she's not getting along with the others. But what's happening? What's on? I was working on my 60 Valiant today for a short bit, fitting a new driver's door, and discovered the bench seat adjustment lever works flawlessly. 1960 Valiant, just incredible. That's actually pretty rare, man. They usually rusted in place. Bowtie Classics. Tony, a video on the Chinese stuff today reminded me to ask you, have you heard that Vevor is bringing stores to America? They're a Chinese manufacturer that make everything from tools, lifts, etc. Yes, I've heard about that. The thing is this, there's so much going on with the currency right now. I don't know how much more investment China is going to be interested in, at least for the foreseeable future. It has nothing to do with tariffs. That's all nonsense. But there are currency things going on, and it's reflected in the price of precious metals that might limit China's exposure or desire to expand or send stuff over here in the not too distant future. So if there's anything, if I was in the market for things that really, primarily come from China and they're relatively cheap, I would be buying them now. I would be stocking up on stuff like that now. Okay, what we got here? Mike is saying Mother's Day to Labor Day drag strip in Palmer. Oh, the drag strip in Palmer, Alaska is open from Mother's Day to Labor Day. Okay, that's not well, I mean, that's a short season, but considering, Alaska, right? Okay, Dakota, what's happening, Dakota? Dakota's time out, man. You remember those days with John Wilbur and all? We had so much fun, man. Tony, I got a 1985 D150, and it won't crank until you let off of the switch, and then sometimes it still won't want to run. It's probably the ignition switch itself. Give me a second now. It won't crank. So all right, here's what you do, okay? Because some people say crank and start are interchangeable. If it won't crank until you let off the switch, then it's, crank means you just spin the engine but not running, it's going to be the ignition switch. If it spins over, okay, but doesn't start until you let off the switch, that's a ballast resistor. Let's see. Nikola Tesla. I saw a shop spider once. I was kid on a family road trip to California from Michigan. The car broke down in Death Valley, and the mechanic at the shop we ended up showed me his Black Widow spider. I mean, listen, people make pets out of everything. Let's see. I'm just scrolling back up here. Thunderbird, our drag strip in Edmonton, Alberta is basically open May through September, but they could be open April through October. Most years, not sure why so short. Yeah, it's the same thing here. It's funny. When I was in New York, ATCO, for several years, ATCO was open year round, right? They just why close, right? So for a couple of years, like around like 1990, 1991, 1992, like that. No, earlier, 80, 88, 89, 90, they were open year round, and we would go out there like it'd be snow flurries, and when we'd be making laps, she was like, just didn't care. And then they stopped that. But especially here, I do not know why the tracks close here. We have such a short, like winter, like where it's, you really don't want to be outside. I don't know why they close. We should be going year round. I know that if I owned a drag strip, it would be open year round. There's just no reason, you know what I mean? It's like somebody is going to use it. It's just like when I had my coffee house, I used to keep them open like 24 hours when practical, right? Because it's just, there's no way. I can't imagine paying rent and having the place be dormant while the rent is accruing. So no, if I'm paying rent on this thing, it's going to work around the clock. 69 Coronet. I had a wolf spider crawl. Oh man, those things are huge. I never saw a wolf spider until I moved to Tennessee. Man, it's a scary looking thing, right? It's like a lobster. Okay, it's a freaking lobster, is what it is. I had a wolf spider crawl from behind the dash one day. I must have set a record for stopping distance. I'm like you, man. I don't like bugs. I just do not like bugs. Olive is in the house. What's happening, Olive? Yeah, Aruba has a nice drag strip. It's open year round. Puerto Rico has a nice drag strip too. That's open year round. Which then again, why wouldn't it be, right? I'm sure it's lots of little places in the Caribbean and Southeast Asia and all of that they go all year. Rope is saying spiders make you run into things and hurt yourself. Spiders, I got bit by a brown recluse on my right over here, okay, and over the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, all of this whole section of my body turned to leather. It was hard like a friggin' rock. It was painful, it just would not go away. Let's see. Loud Kid, T, what do you think about IHR buying up tracks? I have mixed feelings about that. Dr. Art actually had an interesting theory, right? That it's actually not too far fetched. He's wondering if there isn't money backing us because they're spending a huge amount of money, right? They're spending far more money than I would think that a drag strip, an operation like that is going to bring back, let's say, a private equity firm. Drag strips, they can make money, but they're not going to make the kind of serious money that it takes to invest in the purchase and the renovation and all of that for these places. So Dr. Art actually has a theory that they're buying up the drag strips and reactivating them or just going to run them as drag strips to keep the land in use, but eventually they'll be turned into either data centers or things along those lines. I don't know. It's weird how all of a sudden, out of the blue, there's this huge interest in drag racing, and big money is just gobbling up drag strips. It doesn't make any sense. Other than drag strips are generally located in areas that would be very good for, let's say, large warehouses or big, huge buildings that would make, have a lot of the stuff that you want to keep away from the major population. What better place than a drag strip? So I don't know. I got mixed feelings about it. Dakota's timeout. The feds are funding drag strips to raise testosterone in males for World War III. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad thing. I don't even know if I want to say this. I had an experience leaving the shop, just in case, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Okay, but I do want to relate this at the same time. Okay, because I don't want to be unfair. I don't want to be unfair, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. But I had an experience where I recently came across a disabled car. Okay, a vintage car. Okay, I'm not going to say what kind it was. And this was on the side of the road, and a couple of guys with it. And I was like, well, let me do the right car guy thing and see if they need any help. And they were driving along, and it overheated and cut out on them. And they were like kind of lost. Like they didn't like they were lost. Like they kind of looked the part of being like, car guy. It's like, let's pull a transmission. They kind of looked that part, but they didn't sound that part, and they didn't really have the attitude. And under the hood, there was like antifreeze on one side, and on the other side, under the hood, it was oil everywhere, like just oil, tons and tons of oil. And they couldn't get it started. I said, well, what did it do? Well, it overheated. I said, well, will it start? And they were like, no, it won't start. So I said, what happens if you try to start it? And I said, it just spins. I says, all right, get in there and put it to the floor and just crank it and hold it on the floor while. So the kid gets in the car and he holds it to the floor and he's cranking it and cranking it and cranking it. And finally it starts, and they're looking at me like, oh my God, it started, right? And they didn't want to explain to them what had happened, right? It wasn't time for that. We're on the side of the road. And the motor's going, tang, 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 tang. And I was like, goes off, this thing's over. But they didn't how to explain it to you. Like the car looked the part and they looked the part, but they weren't. It was almost like I was dealing with a couple of girls, and I don't mean that. It's hard to say. It's like they were clearly like much lower testosterone than you would expect. I don't mean that they were like gay or anything like that, but they were much lower testosterone. Like they had soft skin, and they shook hands and they had soft skin and kind of like weakish handshakes, and they looked lost.
You were dealing with a couple of what?
What's that?
It was like you were dealing with a couple of what?
Girls. Well, stop. Shit. She's playing. But yeah, so the idea of like them buying up some drag strips to build testosterone, that's not a bad idea. You can see we're already estrogen in the environment that we live in, right? And the food, all the unfermented soy and all the other stuff, seriously had an effect on these guys. Scoop is saying they were probably gamers. Yes, yeah, probably. Kathy Bananas comes in and suddenly Tony can't form a sentence. She's playing. She knows. Mexican Spec saying, I bet Kathy knows what you mean too. She's not the norm. No. She built the engine that's in the Charger. She spots things with these cars and stuff that I don't even notice. She's eagle eyes. She's not a dive in and make anything happen mechanic. She's not that way. But she's been around. She's done a little bit of everything. Bowtie Classics are saying they put the stuff in the water that makes frogs gay. Dude, that's not. It doesn't make them gay necessarily. But it actually, I read up on this. It's true. Whatever this chemical is, they add to the water supply. When frogs are exposed to concentrations of it, they actually change from male to female. Like their male stuff, falls off or whatever it does. I don't even know what kind of junk a frog has. But it ceases to exist and they become females. Now that's not conspiracy. I mean, you could look that up yourself. 72Z28. I was able to teach my daughter to change her tire, but I'm not holding out so much hope she'll go beyond that. She's probably not going to. They're generally not driven to do it. But I've worked 20 feet away from Kim LaHaye watching her throw wrenches. So I have no doubt in my mind that females can make capable mechanics and actually do some pretty amazing stuff. But it's just not in their general makeup. But when they have the will to do it, for whatever reason, they have the will to work on machinery, they get it done. They get it done. Sweetie Fat Guy, thank you for the clarification on that. Atrazine does that to frogs. It's a grass killer. Okay, atrazine. Let's see. Driveway of Misfits. Not everybody's going to work on their own cars, but teaching somebody how cars work goes a long way towards them not getting taken advantage of. Absolutely. There should be, yeah, you're right. Not everybody's going to work on stuff, but everybody should have a basic understanding of the car. It's such a simple basic understanding of it that I can't even off the top of my head think of those things because my head isn't there. But yeah, the mysteries of the bigger parts and functions of cars should be general knowledge. You would think, but no. You know why? Because nobody ever makes money off of education. Nobody ever makes money making people self-sufficient. Nobody makes money educating for anything valuable or useful. So it's just not done. Curbside Classic. Some of the best top fuel drivers are female. To be fair, well, I'm not slighting anybody as far as that goes, but the driver doesn't really. To be honest, now the driver does not do very much in a top fuel car. Women have better reaction times than males do. As a rule of thumb, their nervous system works quicker when they see something to when they react to it. When muscles happen. So yes, they do have an advantage as far as that goes. But when you go back to, like, for instance, with Shirley Muldowney, she was the first known top fuel driver. You have to go back to the days, back to the 1970s when she was predominant, right? When she made her name, she was only about 95 pounds. She didn't even weigh 100 pounds. And this was at a period of time before the modern fuel systems and the new ways or the current ways of tuning, where weight is used as an advantage. Back then, the cars had very small fuel pumps, and weight was not an advantage. Weight was a disadvantage for those cars. So she had a 75-pound, back when these cars weighed 1,500 pounds, 1,400 pounds, she had a 75-pound advantage over every guy that was in the other, minimum, over every guy that was in the other lane. So it was no surprise that she was able to do what she did at the period of time that she did. But I mean, for the most part, top fuel cars are stab and steer, and then 3 seconds later, shoot, and then that's it, you're done. So Mexican spec. So Tony, are you saying that they were younger guys driving an old carbureted car? Yes, they were probably 20 something. Let's see. Wayne, my ex had an incredible reaction time. Oof. Wayne, so what the hell was his name? Sam Biondo. So you guys know the practice Christmas trees. So Sam Biondo and Butchie DiLorenzo, the two of them worked together and they developed a practice tree. This was in New York in the 1980s, okay? And these guys were bracket racer. I mean, they were just they lived bracket racing. Everything about bracket racing, this was their deal. So they worked together and they developed the first practice tree. I don't remember what it was called. But anyway, Sam had a daughter named Krista, and Krista used to bracket race a Monte SS. And whenever we'd go out there to hang out just with the guys, and we'd go to Butchie Deal around the gas station, you have the practice tree set up there, and we would bet, you know what I mean, on who would get the best elapsed time, the best reaction times on that. And Krista won every time. Just every time. There was nobody was even close. Let's see. I'm just scrolling back up. James Estep. I've been watching for a while and have been loving your motorcycle content. Can't wait to see for more Sportster videos. I want to do more motorcycle content, but those videos get no views. And as I was explaining on a previous live, I think maybe it was last week, I don't remember. The problem with putting out videos that get low views is not the fact that they get low views. It's the fact that the YouTube algorithm rejects that video. And then once you put out 2 or 3 in a given period of time, let's say over the course of like 10 videos, let's say you put out 2 or 3 that get way below expectation, they start holding back all of your videos. So what happens is if I do a motorcycle video or 2 and they bomb, I have to stop and I have to lay off and I have to let it go for like several videos of normal content that's got 25, 50, 60,000 views like that before I could put out another one that's only going to get like 14 or 12, which is what happens with the motorcycle videos. So that's why I don't do as much of it as I would like to. I would like at least 25% of the channel's content, the balance to be motorcycle oriented, because me myself, I'm at least 50% motorcycle oriented, but it does. I can't get the views out of it, and it ends up hurting the channel as a whole because of the algorithms. Cheap Roland. I'm talking about, do you want a free diesel heater to do a review on for your channel? I'm connected with one of the best diesel heater companies out here. I appreciate the offer, bro, but we do not do any like free product reviews. The only products I will ever review or talk about on this channel are ones that I specifically go to the store by myself or I order by myself online and pay for with my own money. We don't do any ad reads. We don't do any free reviews. We don't do anything like that. That's strictly forbidden. So, but I do appreciate the offer. Thank you. Let's see. Dead Cool Garage, the algorithm is messing with Auto Resto Mod. He can't figure out what's going on. Well, there's a chance that's what it is. The algorithm expects a certain range, okay? It expects a certain range of video in the first 24 hours. They go by the first 24 hours. And if let's say you put 3-4 videos out that are that trend above that range, they'll push out all of your videos and views pick up like crazy, okay? But if you put out 2 or 3 videos that fall below that range, oh, it's a punishment. Like if you pull your hair out, like what did I do wrong? Why does YouTube hate me all of a sudden? Now, from a business standpoint, what you guys have to understand is that some people make their money off of the video that they put out that day. Okay. So in other words, like certain types of channels that talk about current events, you have to make your money off that video that day, right? Because it's current events. Nobody's going to click on that video 3 months from now to learn about what's happening today, right? But if you do the type of content that we do, which is considered like evergreen content. It really has no expiration date. You don't make the money off the video you put out today. You make the money off of the body of videos that you put out over the last however long you've been doing it. So every time you do a video, you're adding to like your account, your bank account. So when you that's what's important to know. If you make money from YouTube, if you do YouTube for a living, that's the key to it, right? It's your body of previous videos. So if Auto Wrestler Mod put out several videos, a couple of videos that were below that range, YouTube stops sharing those older videos, and it will level you. So, and then by the same token, you do a couple of that are above that range, and all of a sudden you start getting views on videos you did 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 years ago. It's like boom! I just had one. I just did a video. I just saw a video that we did. Oh God, a few years ago. Now I can't remember which one it is. It should be off the top of my head. Hang on. I'll be right back. Yes, I found it. I did a video on crankcase ventilation, PCV valves. I did this video like 4 years ago, and it got its views and it kind of flatlined. It would get like 20 views a week, 30 views a week. Over the last 2 or 3 days, it's gotten like 10,000 views. It's like YouTube just cut it loose. It's like, oh, here, you did a couple of good videos. Here's a bonus, and they take these old ones and they put them out. It's crazy. This is a business that's very. You can't count on anything. Bowtie Classics. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. SEME oil futures higher than silver at the moment. I imagine they would be. You've got the Strait of Hormuz. So when that's blocked or there's issues there, they got to send the tankers all the way around the bottom of Africa. So yeah, that's adding several thousand miles to a trip. So I would imagine that oil futures would be pretty damn high. Glenn Webster, that crankcase video popped up on my stuff yesterday. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Boomer, money. I'm not like that. I'm totally not money motivated. I don't even know what motivates me, to be honest with you. But it's still a business, and I still have to pay bills, and I still have to have a cushion left over, So, let's see. You want it? Let's do it. Let's do a quick precious metals check. I'm curious. I gotta know. Let's see. At 7:47 Central Standard Time, we've got. Come on. Oh, gold is up $101.05 to 53.3208. That's 1.93%. And silver is currently up 94 cents at 93.35. And then it's down significantly from where it was before. It was up at 96.40, it looks like. So silver took a dive down, opened gapped up, and it's currently taking a run down. Yeah, so interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. I don't think we're going to see 100 again this time around. I think so. My prediction have been dead nuts so far. I've been really accurate, right? I said around 65, and she came all the way down to 65. So I think at this point it's going to bounce off of that 100. So 98, 99, and I think it's going to bounce 2 or 3 times, and it's going to fail. And I think we'll go back to 70s, and then the run up begins. So the run up to like 180. And I think that'll happen this year. I don't really see it going back over 100 right now, but definitely, no question, this year. Dakota saying, I wish I would have bought it when it was like 25 when you said to buy it. Dude, when I was telling you to buy it, it was in the teens. right? I mean, you got to go back. What was it? What was it in 2020, 2019 and 2020, right? That's pre pandemic. What was it? $17, $18. That's when you should have been buying it. Barrows. The best thing about working on your stuff on YouTube, you get paid to work on your own stuff. Yes. Remember when we would joke about that back in the day? Now it's possible. Yes. Yes. I don't like to work on my stuff on camera. I really enjoy working on my stuff unless I'm doing it on camera, in which case I really hate it. So I prefer to do these videos about theory and practice and the science of it all. And somewhat touch on actually working on stuff. But other guys, that's all they do is they work on their stuff and they love working on stuff on camera. My problem is I'm working on stuff on camera. I'm in the head of working on stuff. So I can't talk. Like I can't be thinking and talking at the same time. It's like two different parts of my brain that don't really want to play well with each other. So I avoid doing videos when I'm actually working on stuff. But other people, they do great with it. I'm just not one of them. Fubar was buying at 15. Yes, sir. Let's see. Joker, do you think the latest in Iran will contribute to any disruptions in the metals? No. Just keep watching the bond market. The dollar index is way high. The dollar index is something you want to watch. But then a dollar index is just a dollar. It's one fiat currency in a basket of other fiat currencies. So yeah, it's high, but it's high in relation to other junk. You know what I mean? So, but nevertheless, when it's high, paper silver or paper metals come down low, and that's probably why you see it where it is right now. You would think global turmoil and blah 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 to the moon, but the dollar index is high currently. So yeah, but you'll see the disruption in oil, and really not even that much as far as I think most of the oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz there is going to Russia, and it's going to China. I don't think much of that oil comes this way, but we'll find out. Joker is saying, I can't film my own work. Too many distractions and anger occur in real life. Yeah, I don't really get angry. Very rarely really that I get angry, but yeah, I can't. Look what happens when I'm trying to do a video like explaining a carburetor, right, or whatever it is. I'll take it. I'm always butterfingering. I'm always dropping things. Stuff's always falling because I can't think of what my hands are doing when I'm trying to remember what I'm talking about. So not everybody is able to do that kind of video. I admire the people who can. The old cars and music, yeah, like walking and chewing gum at the same time, yeah. Power toys. Do you think this is World War III? Pretty grim for a young guy these days. Dude, we've been in World War III since the 90s. And we lost. I mean, people don't realize this, okay? There's like the stuff that's the headlines and whatnot, right? And then there's the real world, the real globe, and how things are done. And we've been in World War III, and we've been losing World War III. Don't take my word for it. Look across the landscape of this country, okay? Because there are thousands of dead cities, dead towns, dead industries. Our currency is dead. Everything. Please, everybody's completely in debt. Nobody really owns anything. Everything's either leased or leveraged to the hilt. No, we lost a long time ago. We've been fighting World War III and we lost. The only thing that hasn't happened is just the admission of that loss. So all of these little nonsensical things that happen, skirmishes between the countries, that's just a distraction from the reality of it all. Somebody's asking me about I'm just scrolling back up, guys. All right. Oscar Gonzalez, I feel like we're in the movie They Live. You think? You think that's possible? Every time people bring that type of thing up to me, current events, and oh, this one said this and that one did that, and oh, look, they're releasing this, and my answer to all of that is just enjoy the show. Just enjoy the show. End of time. Tony's rabbit hole is one you have to check out. Iran is sitting on a huge water reserve. Look into it. Why wouldn't they be? There's underground aquifers everywhere. Why wouldn't Iran be sitting on one? Mid-May muscle, they did this to cover up the aliens. Every time, man, they tease us and then bam, a distraction. I think it's the other way around. The bigger picture is 100% economic. All right, 100% economic. And everything else is a distraction. They can't, the power that be, cannot let the general public know how it all really works. You know what I'm saying? Because if the general public knew how things actually worked, what really happens, how it's all structured, right? And who the real elites are, right? It would stop. It would all stop, right? So everything is a distraction from that. Let's see. I'm just scrolling around here. Joker, even Epsi? Oh, that? Yes. It is a distraction, but it's also not, okay? Because what it is, it's a soft disclosure. Okay, here's the way to look at this, all right? Because I've been watching this for decades, okay? Here's how to look at it. There's no arrests. There's no prosecution. There's no talk about it at the highest levels, okay? There's all sorts of speculation. There's all sorts of proof. There's all sorts of videos. There's all sorts of evidence. But yet, not a single person is being prosecuted, or no investigations, no nothing. You would think to be a tyrant. Well, you have to understand is that itself is the thing. That itself is a disclosure. It's telling the general public, okay, the general public, that no, you really do not have a government. You really don't have any system that it's all an illusion. Does that make any sense? I don't know if that makes any sense. You have to have been around this stuff for a long enough to really see that picture. Todd Denio, Uncle Tony, if you want to see some wild, watch a few videos of racing longtail boats. Those are insane. CB Media, I've watched them. I know all about it. Awesome stuff. The channel that features that is CB Media, and they do because drag racing is the national sport of Thailand, and they race everything. They race ambulances, they race school buses, they race tractors, they race in the rice paddies, they race the long tow boats, they race everything everywhere all the time. Drag racing is the national sport of Thailand. So yes, I'm very familiar with it. Anybody who wants to check out some of the coolest car culture that's ever existed anywhere on the planet, go to CB Media and check out the stuff that's happening down there. Mr. Dodge 99, how are you? Crossrem Crazy. That's a good name. I like that. I'm looking for more than the 2 pages of info that I could find about the plan for 71 Superstock, which was using a 71 Demon 340 shell, 446 pack short block with stage 3 max wedge heads and intake. Never happened. Never happened. Guarantee it. Let's see. Rope, I'm going to tell you, you're willing to admit your dog's being raised to drag race. My Molly, she's my middle border collie. Molly Jane is the 41st fastest border collie in the world, as far as the AKC is concerned. Fast cat, which is a 300-yard dash, a straight line dash. So it's doggy drag racing. I actually did a video on it, and she's number 41 out of 475 border collies. So, and that was only her first outing. It was her first run. This dog is like lightning, She's and she's gotten much faster since then because I play with her in the yard. You know, we throw frisbees and stuff like that. And like, I got to shoot a video of her in action. She's just amazing, absolutely amazing. So yes, Brandon Crepo, Tony. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, bro. Tony, do you think really loses if the U.S. actually was to balance the national debt and property back to the dollar and properly back our dollar with actual assets? I would think it would solve so many problems. Yes, but all of the excesses have to be eliminated first. So yeah, I 100% agree with you. The national budget would be, or the national debt would be balanced through default. So we've been bankrupt for decades. Okay, that's not new. Okay, but in order to go back and actually return to an equilibrium, right? Everything would have to be wiped out first. All debt would have to be wiped out and a dollar redefined. It's coming. Whether you're ready for it or not, whether you want it or not, that's a reset, and it's going to happen. See how it goes. Dead Cougar Garage. Put your money in safe money prospects. Okay. CDs. Nope. Bonds. Nope. Mutuals. Nope. Not a prayer. No, absolutely not. This is not financial advice. That advice would have worked great 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Okay. Let me see. Let me finish your. I'm sorry, Dead Cougar. I'm sorry to jump on your statement there, without reading the whole thing first. Put your money in safe money prospects, CDs, bonds, mutuals. I put all my money in those things from the jump, never wavered, never touched it, retired at 59, even if the economy tanks. Okay, so That would have been good advice from the 1960s through the 1990s. Okay. From now, I was in bonds and stuff like that. Now, no, absolutely not. There are no US denominated paper assets that are safe. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it says. I don't care what the promise is. Zero of them are safe. Right? The only thing that is safe right now, and until things finish, until this cycle finishes, the only things that are safe are hard, tangible items of recognized value, store of wealth that you can physically hold in your hand. That's a microphone. I hope I'm not screwing everybody up. That you can physically hold in your hand, right? That is the only thing you can count on right now. And real estate is actually a pretty bad investment too. I know it was so what's going on, it's liquidity. There's no liquidity in it. And if you look what's happening in the bond market. You don't want to be in anything that's illiquid, with the exception probably of producing land. So if you own land, then you can farm it, or it's got minerals on it, you can mine it, or it's got oil, you can pump it, right? Land, usable land is about the only tangible asset that I'd say right now, illiquid asset that I would want to own. Conventional real estate, no. Commercial real estate, especially no. Boy, things are happening right now, bro. Things are happening. Dead Cougar Garage. My best friend invested all his money into everything he can touch. Now he's broke and destitute and alone. Well, I mean, listen, what do you want me to tell you? I started doing this 26 years ago. And I never had any illusion of getting rich off of it, just protecting myself. And that's what it's all about. It's not about right now. So you'll end up getting rich by default, but you don't do it to get rich. You do it to protect yourself. And right now there is not. Listen, your plan worked in the past, okay? But for the current generation, for Dakota's generation, for these guys that are in their prime, working years, and they're trying to get ahead and they're trying to hold on to things, right? No, hard tangible assets, nothing paper. 72Z20. The only safe investments are stuff you can hold on to and sell later or use to survive. Use your imagination. Car parts, tools, metals, shelf-stable food, etc. Yes. Danny Boy, but will own nothing and be happy. Unfortunately, 75% of the population will own nothing. 75% of the population doesn't own anything anyway. They think they own it. They have the illusion of ownership, but they don't actually own it. Okay. But ultimately, yeah, 75-80% of the population will end up owning nothing and being happy. Yes. But there's going to be 25% of the population that's going to own stuff and is going to do very well in these coming times. So where you're positioned now is going to dictate how are you going to come out the other side. Power Toys. I just bought my first house. Only $80,000 loan. Okay, Z, that's a bite size. That's good. Hopefully the bank goes under so I can ditch it. Self-do. You own nothing if you have net negative worth, regardless of having title to real property or trust. Yes, exactly. Brandon, that bit about commercial real estate makes me nervous at the prospect of starting my own business. Also, my last name is pronounced Crapo. Crapo. Okay. Thank you, Brandon. All right. So so commercial real estate. Here's what you need to understand about commercial real estate, right? And lending institutions that are foundational to commercial real estate. The world has changed. Technology has changed. Okay. The office buildings are useless anymore. They're not needed, right? Technology has displaced the need for these big buildings and the cities and all of the infrastructure necessary to run it. Okay. So slowly but surely, and it's been happening really since the pandemic. It's been happening before then, but slowly but surely, all business, all commercial enterprise is moving away from these high cost, high maintenance places. So all of your office buildings, all your real estate investment trusts, office buildings are becoming more and more worthless all the time, right? Stick and mortar stores are becoming more and more worthless all the time. Look at shopping malls. Imagine if you had invested heavily in shopping malls in the 1980s, 1990s, boom time. How could you ever go wrong? Shopping malls, right? There's no active shopping malls anymore. They're all done, except for maybe one or two novelty places. But the bottom line is that Amazon and online has taken the place of that. All of this is an ongoing evolution, and all of the traditional commercial real estate opportunities or investments are no longer of any value to anybody. Now they're a liability. I just saw something about an office building in one of the major cities that just sold for $1. It's such a major liability. You have to heat this thing, you have to cool it, you have to keep electricity going through it, you need maintenance staff. And if you've got a 40% vacancy rate, you're losing money every month on this thing, and you still get taxed your appraised value. And at some point you walk away and say, okay, bye, I'll take the hit, right? Here, bank, have your office building back. And that's happening more and more and more and more and more. And the problem is there are so many banks that's what they do. It's commercial real estate, because that was the thing for the longest time. Oh, they're in a lot of trouble. And a lot of credit unions are like that too. All right, let me go back to. Let's see. Scoop is saying office buildings might become housing. Well, some of them can be, a percentage of them can be converted to housing. But I want you to think about this carefully now, okay? So if the office building is no longer a viable place of commerce, and now you're going to turn it into housing, that area that housing is in, what's its source of income, its source of commerce? Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, you could turn off some office buildings into residential, but there's no income. There's no viable business for the residents that live there. It just becomes another, it become more housing projects. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. All of the pigeons are coming home to roost right now. Power Toys, my concern isn't my ability to sustain. My concern is others coming after my stuff because I was prepared. That's a concern of a lot of people. You gotta know your landscape. You gotta know your area. I know where I am, where if things got hairy here, I'm 10 miles away from okayness. You know what I'm saying? You have to be very aware, and you have to plan ahead. Oh God, I really don't want to get into all of this stuff tonight, but it is something that concerns everybody. you got to be prepared. You have to be mentally prepared to move. You have to be physically prepared to move if you have to. Or now, while the going is still relatively good, make those moves or those contingency plans, right? If you've got a little extra, lease something, lease a half an acre of something out in the middle of nowhere and pick up a cheap RV and stick it out there and make that your insurance policy, because you can always rebuild from that point. The cities, the big population centers are not where you want to be, man. Not where you want to be. Standing foot. I'm rebuilding my 2-stroke motorized bicycle for a cheap way to get around. Always a good thing to have. Absolutely. Everybody should have something like that just kicking around, honestly. BF1P, how do you even own something when everything is licensed and taxed? I agree. The only way I'm not even going to get into that, but if you understand that concept, then you also understand the Organic Act of 1871 and how that would have to be repealed, and everything that came after that nullified. Then yes, you could go back to actually owning things. But no, nobody owns anything. No, the corporate entity that's you actually owns it, right? Your birth certificate, your number, your social security number, all those things are attached to anything that you quote own, right? And so it's not you, the human, that owns it. It's you, the corporate entity, that owns it. And you can tell by the way your name is spelled. Is it all caps? Is it last name first? It's not you. It's not you. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. Self-do, you never own real estate in the ultimate sense. Property taxes make the county the landlord of last resort. So that's important to know if you're in precious metals, okay? Because certain states like Tennessee and several others, and now Florida, are now declaring that gold and silver are legal tender to settle public debt, okay? So very important to know that. When land is returned to the state, tax liens collected on, okay, they can be bought from the state using precious metals. So that's new. That's only, well, it's not new. It's an ancient concept, but it's newly reintroduced into our economic reality. So you want to be in a state that recognizes gold and silver as legal tender, because that's a preparation for all of the land that's going to get dumped back into the state's hands from tax defaults. So yes, right? Because people are like, oh, they made gold and silver legal tender. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean you could go to Kroger and buy your groceries with a piece of silver. What it means is that you can settle debts or pay. It's accepted by the state as payment for what the state owns, which is land. Let's see. Lance Colby, hey, UTG, got a question. Can vertical lines hone out of an engine? That's a judgment call, man. If you have to hone more than, let's say, 0.002 of an inch to get rid of those, then no. Light scratches, light vertical scratches, yeah, you can usually hone those out. But the deeper ones, like let's say, for instance, the engine ate, it overheated really badly, and it ate the skirt of the piston and gouged the cylinder wall, you ain't gonna hone that out. Sorry. Um, I'm scrolling back up here. Uh, Barrows. I purposely bought my house in the country, not the town or city, paid less than a new King Ranch Ford for it, paid it off in 10 years and said goodbye to the rent monkey. There you go. Uh, 72Z20 is saying to fill the gouge in the cylinder wall with JB Weld and keep going. You know what? You could do it. You could do it to an extent, right? Like if it was, let's say it was a limited use, like a race motor or something like that, then I'd say, yeah, you'd probably be fine. I wouldn't trust it for the long haul. You know, like something that goes into regular service and you go through like extreme heating and cooling cycles. I wouldn't trust it for too long like that. There's a chance that it does lose its grip and fall out. If it was like for, I guess it's like a race motor, you know, something's just used for short bursts and stuff, then I said, yeah, exactly that. Hit it with some JB Weld, hone it, and then call it a day. But you know, it depends on the guy. It depends on the guy's use. Let's see. Donald Davidson, welcome in. See, I'm just. I'm just scrolling up here. Alito Zeski, Elatora Zeski. I'm sorry if I'm murdering your name. Elatora Zeski. The fact that they could take something from you that is bought and paid for is so un-American regarding property tax. Understand what the Organic Act, the incorporation of the United States of America, what the implications of that are, and you get your answer to the property taxes and all of that. No, it's not American. We haven't operated under that system in 150 years. Let's see. I'm just scrolling up. People are investing in Pokemon cards. You know, that there's speculative investments all the time. There's not much difference in investing in Pokemon cards as, let's say, vintage Mopar parts or anything along those lines. Those are speculatory investments. But the idea is when you make your profits from that, you know, of course, if it's an ongoing thing, so you flip Pokemon cards or whatever, or play with cryptos, same thing, same exact thing, right? You take your profit, you reinvest some of it, as long as you take some of that profit and put it into something stable and tangible, like precious metals or land or something along those lines, then sure, I'm speculate away. Self-do. Look, I've seen baseball cards and pogs being invested in. P.T. Barnum was right. Crypto. And I'm in crypto. I have crypto, right? But I have crypto as a speculative investment, right? I only invested in it knowing that there's a good chance I lose all of it. The same way you go to a casino, okay? So just keep this in mind now, right? I'm not talking shit about crypto because I'm not in crypto. I am, okay? But Pogs, baseball cards, and stuff like that are a better board because you can hold them in your hand. You can actually touch them, right? They have weight, okay? They're actually better investments. Those things is better investments than crypto. If you invest in old corn cobs, you've got a better investment than if you're in, let's say, Bitcoin, okay? Because no matter what happens, the old corn cobs are still going to stay old corn cobs, whereas Bitcoin can just like it never even existed. So yeah, they seem silly investments, but they're actually not. Biofly, crypto is the biggest pyramid scheme to me. Oh, please wait till the rug pull on that. Oh my God. So I'm having fun watching. I'm having fun watching the crypto thing. I'm not taking a beating because I don't really care. Okay, I watch every day. I'm down. Look at this, right? But here's what's going to happen with crypto. I think it's all going to take another massive hit down, right, to shake out like everybody else, and then there's going to be this crazy piling in. You watch, like we're talking thousands of percent, okay, over the course of a short period of time, maybe like 3 months, 4 months, and then lights out. So watch what happens. I haven't missed yet with any of the stuff. I'm telling you that's what's going to happen with crypto. Right? It's going to keep going down. You're going to see Bitcoin at like 19,000 or whatever. You're going to see like XRP at like 40 cents. Okay, and everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm just done. And then all of a sudden, the institutional money is going to just go flooding right into it, pump it to the moon, and then sidestep it. And that's when the big rug pull happens. And I would not be surprised if that doesn't happen towards the middle summer-ish this year. Not saying it's going to happen, saying I would not be surprised if it happened. Saber belongs. Thank you for the super chat. Tony, what do you think has better performance? Small block Chevy, Mickey Thompson Cross Ram, or small block Chevy Edelbrock's XC8 Cross Ram? Bro, I do not have hands-on experience with either of those manifolds. Going by tradition, when I say that, I mean, like, generally speaking, the Mickey Thompson stuff is always a little bit dated. Edelbrock stuff is always a little bit more, you know what I'm saying? I would probably lean towards the Edelbrock if I didn't know anything about either manifold. Okay, but that's something you've got to do your research on that. You've got to go to forums and find people who actually run those things, or have run them in the past, and get their opinions. I wish I could give you one. I can't. Barrows is saying, funny thing about the Great Depression is they don't talk about the people who made extreme amounts of money off that crash. Only thing you hear about was the people that lost it all. The Great Depression, okay, the 29 crash and the Great Depression, I don't think is a viable parallel to what you got happening tonight. Two completely different things. I mean, the Great Depression came after the switch, after the Federal Reserve came into being, but before the confiscation of gold, 1933, and all of that, all of the various steps in. So while the U.S. dollar was essentially a fiat currency at the time, not truly fiat currency, it still had backing. It was different. It was different. The different situation we have today. Anything post 1971, you can't draw any parallels to what happened in U.S. economic history going back, except for one event, Okay, there's only one event in all U.S. economic history that can parallel to what we have happening today, and that would be the end of the Civil War and the Confederate currency. Okay, that would be a fair example. So if you look at what happened, let's say in Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, in any of the Confederate states, look at the wealth transfer that happened in those states post end of the war, 1865, 1866, 1867. Look at what happened, the transfer of wealth in those states at that period of time. And that is very close to the situation that we have right now. I'm just scrolling back up here. Propane. Okay. Don't get Tony agitated. Why not? Who's agitating me here? Brian Bittinger? Propane makes great fuel for race cars. Ask Tony to show his. Oh man, I could have pushed that. I knew it wasn't going to, because I understand the nature of fuel, and we've done so many videos now on internal combustion thermodynamics. So I mean, I understand how it works, and I knew there would be problems with the propane. I knew it was, but I was like, yeah, let's just experiment with it. Let's play with it. Let's see what we can get out of it. But it was so weak and it was so sad. And it just was just so not into it. Then it was just like, okay, yeah, this experiment done. We got to run it. We took it to the track. It went down the track. And it was like, done. So, yeah, I knew. I was hoping, right? I was hoping. Let's see. All right, let me. I was just scrolling up to see if I missed anything. Firefly. Tony didn't want to put 13.5-to-1 pistons in that motor. When I was part of it, I really didn't want to spend a lot of money on that motor, or a lot of time, or a lot of effort. I was excited by the novelty of trying something different. That's all it was. What's on the UT? Did you see Parker's latest find? A 7134. Oh yeah, backyard barn finds, right? I watched that this morning. Because I was up with the puppy, because I haven't really slept very much since we got the puppy. But yes, I actually watched that in my fogged out state. As always, a great video. Backyard barn finds. Yeah, I saw that 340 CUDA, original owner. Ordered with a shaker. Road lamps, never got them due to strike at the time. Yeah, no, I saw that. Another excellent video. That car was actually pretty cool. That's like a real time capsule car. Did you see what he paid for the tires and wheels in 1971? Because they showed the receipt, okay? And he paid like $1,100 and something. I had the receipt. He paid $1,100 and something in 1971 for 4 Krager SS's and the tires that went on them, right? And I don't remember what the tires were, but it was like over $1,100. So that was huge money in 1971. Do the inflation adjusted price of that. That was freaking crazy. But yeah, that was actually a very enjoyable video. As always, I said I love all that guy's videos. He has a knack for it. He's really good. I tell you what video I saw, I watched right after that I really enjoyed was Tom from Rocket Restos was down at the Wellborn place, and he did a thing on the Daytona there, the K&K Insurance Daytona, and that was a really enjoyable video also. If you guys haven't seen it, you go check that out. It's very cool video. Scoop, you remember when Kragers and Keystones and center lines were the in thing? Yep, the 70s. Oh, 1971, really, the Keystones weren't. 1971, I think that's about when they introduced the Keystone Classics, or thereabouts. 71 was either Krager SSs or slots. And then 72, 3, the Keystone Classics started to become kind of popular. And it wasn't until like about 75, 76 that the center lines started to become the thing. Let's see. Lance Colby. Hey, Tony, are you planning on doing a Magnum build anytime soon? I'm not. And if so, do you think you could try the conversion to LA heads? So here's the thing about putting LA heads on a Magnum, okay? It has to do with the push rod hole. Roller cam 318 and 360s. So 1985, 86, LA roller cam 318s, 360s have a very large push rod hole, okay? Extremely large push rod hole. And that's because on the Magnum and the Roller LA, which is essentially the same exact thing, the lifter is extremely high. And because the lifter is so high, the push rod is short, and the angle to the push rod becomes more extreme. So in order for all of that to operate, the push rod hole has to be huge. So if you look at a roller cam LA head, the push rod hole, as compared to a flat tappet LA head, the push rod hole, you'll see the difference. So the trick there is to open up the, so if you're going to open up a flat tappet LA cylinder head, so let's just say an X head or a J head for the sake of argument, to use it on a Magnum block, you have to not only drill the push rod hole slightly oversized, but you've got to oblong it a lot. If you try to just drill out the push rod hole to clear, you would drill into the port. So that's a problem. That's a problem. So the push rod hole has to be oblonged to take account for the push rod and that angle that it's on going through its travel. So that's what you've got to. I don't even know if I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. If you have any questions, ask Lance. If I didn't make that clear. Betty Corfano, Unilug rims were a pain to install. You know, the problem with the Unilug's got a bad name, but you know why? Because people weren't using the right lug nuts. The Unilug has a special length lug nut, okay, that compensates for, like if you took the regular standard lug nuts, let's say from a non-Unilug wheel, and used them on a Unilug wheel, there's like enough of a difference, like 60 thousandths, 80 thousandths of an inch, whatever it is, in the length of the shank, that keeps the Unilug from tightening up completely. So what happens is over a few miles, they start to shift around, and then the lug nut loosens up, and then, yeah. So, yeah, that was the thing. You're using a Unilug wheel, you have to use Unilug specific lug nuts on it. UB's Garage, besides those great wheels back in the 70s, don't forget those extended shackle hangers, slapper bars, and Gabriel hijackers fully filled with air. Yeah, everybody was going for the stink bug look back then. Not me. I avoided that because I understood the difference. Even when I was a teenager, I knew the difference. So back in the middle 70s. So for you guys that aren't familiar, right? Because I make references to things that I assume that everybody knows, but I forget sometimes that this is like 50 something years ago, and a lot of people don't understand. The big thing on the street for street cars, they tried to look like race cars. So they would jack up the back. They'd put these giant tires on the back, N50s and stuff like that, right? And they would put extended shackles and air shocks, and they would jack the back of the car way up because they were trying to look like the race cars of the day, right? But the problem was the race cars of the day may have appeared that way, but they were actually constructed in such a way that the chassis was level and the body was mounted up high in the back to clear the tires. So it worked on race cars because race cars were constructed level, even pro stock cars. They appeared like they had a rake, but the actual frame itself was level to the ground. So you look at it from the side and say, oh, it's all jacked up in the back. And funny cars, oh, they're all jacked up in the back. So that must be the thing, jack it up in the back, right? But like I said, real race cars had a level chassis and just the body mounted on that rake. So when you did that to a street car, all the traction went away. The car handled like shit. All the traction went away because it didn't want to transfer weight. So it just sit there and spin. I knew back when I was a kid, the trick was to run the front of the car a little bit higher than the back because that's what Chrysler did. And if you look at the Chrysler factory race cars, from the early days, the 64, 65, actually any of the factory race cars, they were always slightly nose up. Right? In fact, the rocker measurement, the correct rocker measurement for like a car sitting at rest on level ground, the front of the rocker is supposed to be like 3/4 of an inch. They give a spec for each individual car higher than the back. They want this slightly nose up attitude so that the car on acceleration transfers the weight. So when I was a kid, all these other guys run around these jacked up, stink bug looking cars, and my shit was sitting level with the nose just slightly high. Yes, I was a freaking know-it-all when I was 17 also. I'm scrolling back up. Okay. Lance. Okay. I'm sorry, Lance. I went right by it because I was rambling. All right. Lance Colby. So basically, the push-rod hold needs to be oblonged and modified. Yes. I'm asking due to the fact that I have J heads that are milled like the video David Bizarre did, and I ported them a lot on my LA block. So you can use a conversion roller cam that you don't necessarily need to use a Magnum block. You can use I'm trying to think who makes them. The factory used a very tall lifter with a spider set up to keep the lifters from turning. Okay, but there are link bar lifters that you can buy that are much shorter, and you can get away with the stock length push rods on those. You look into it. But if you are going to put them on a Magnum block, that's what you need to know. The hole has to be oblong. If you mock it together, okay, so put the cylinder head on there, put a push rod in there, put a rocker arm on there, okay, and then rotate the motor. You'll see exactly where it hits. And you'll see it actually takes a lot of oblonging of that hole to get it to go through its cycle. And that's what like a moderate, like a 520, 550 lift cam. UB's Garage. My buddy across the street had a metallic silver with black vinyl top 69 Roadrunner with Kragers and hijackers inflated to the moon. That was everywhere, man. That was everywhere. Barrows is saying our wrap builds have all the body rake, gives it a mean look. But like you said, the chassis is actually dead level or high in the front. Yep. Robert Rio, how about those appliance mag roto lug eccentrics you screw on the wheel studs? I have them on my Mach 1, kind of a pain in the ass. I don't think I've ever heard of that, Robert. Appliance mag roto lug eccentrics. I'm going to look into that. That may be something I may have seen at some point, but I can't for the life of me picture what that is. Let's see. Guys, I'm probably going to call it. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I guess we'll stick it out. We'll have 19 minutes to go. It's time for a precious metals check. Hang on a second. I'm curious. There's a lot of stuff happening. China is trading right now. So let's see what the action is. And take it forever to load. What do we got? Okay, so gold right now is up $118 at $53.49.55. That's a 2.27% gain. And silver is at $93.99, which is up $1.59. I'm surprised it's not more than that. That's a gain of 1.72%. I think those numbers are going to change significantly overnight. Let's see what it opens up in the morning. And then Fubar just put a link to my merch. Thank you, Fubar. I appreciate that. So our shirts and our hats and stickers are available right there at Uncle Tony's Garage at gmail.com. Wait, no, it's Uncle Tony's Garage.com. Just get it at the gmail.com. That's where our merch lives. And Kathy Bananas handles all of that. So if you need anything, shirts, hats, that's where you go. Thank you, Fubar. Frederick Booth, you really enjoy listening to our lives. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. How's kryptonite trading? I know I haven't been paying attention to kryptonite lately. Platinum, I've been paying attention to. Joseph Geisler, my brother had a 72 Charger jacked up real high in the back. He said he did it because he got better mileage. She was always going downhill. Thunderbird, any speculation on oil prices after the attack on Persia? I love that you called it Persia. That's very, very cool. Minor for us. For the East, Russia, China, all of that. Yeah, they're going to see a probably a significant rise. For us, I don't know. We're a token amount. I don't think it's going to have any major effect, but we'll see. Scoop, all the episodes of American Pickers and they passed on all the real silverware for toys and signs. Silverware is a bit of a bitch. Unless you could test it then and there, I mean, you don't know, you really don't know what you're getting. I would probably pass on silverware for things that I know have a immediate flip value. You know, especially if you're doing stuff like, you know, you're stocking a store, because that's what they do. They had stores. They had one here in Nashville. They had the one up there in Iowa. So it would make sense to fill the shelves rather than speculate on what might or might not be, you know, relatively valuable silver, and especially back then when that show was in its prime and silver was trading at under $10 an ounce for the most part. Let's see. Thunderbird, Iran used to be called Persia. Well, yeah, that's why I didn't realize most people don't, younger people don't know that Iran used to be called Persia. Yeah, should still be called. Hopefully they change the name back. Oh, Crosshair Crazy. I'm sorry to bring up the Demon Max Wedge combo I asked you about. I would like to send you a copy of TM Hoover 50 car special build proposal for the 71 Demon Max Wedge combo from the NHRA Superstock Class C. So it would fit into Superstock C. It may have been a proposal. Lots and lots and lots of things got proposed. There was never any actual development work on that package. I can absolutely guarantee it. But that's not to say that it wasn't proposed, okay? Because I'm sure at some point people proposed a Hemi Colt. You know what I mean? Like oh, let's just take a bunch of Colts and stick Hemis in them and make pro stockers, right? There were Hemi pro stock Colts, but I mean from a factory, right? But yeah, that might have been proposed. Lots and lots of things were proposed, but I can absolutely guarantee, beyond a shadow of a doubt, no development work was ever carried out on that particular combination. Let's see. Salty, on the lighter side, Tony, think anyone can make ABS runners to replicate the ones used on the 426 Max Wedge? No, I don't think so. You need either the aluminum or the magnesium. So go back and watch the videos I did on induction system thermodynamics, and especially the one we talked about on intake manifolds, because I covered all of that. And if you watch that video, you'll understand why you definitely wouldn't want ABS runners used in the Max Wedge intake manifold. Thunderbird, I'm a church kid, so I heard about the Persian Empire a lot. Actually, today's message was on the Persian Empire as it relates to the end times. Scripture has a lot of reference to the Persian Empire. There are certain topics I won't, you know, like go into, right? Or there are certain topical lines I won't cross in discussions on this channel, but very aware of all of that. Let's see. Stephen, need a UTG reading list? That would be cool. What are you referring to, Steve? A reading list of what? While I'm waiting for that, Modagu, Medu, I can't keep Milagu. What's your opinion on interchanging push rods during a rebuild? For a regular rebuild, just like a normal rebuild where you're not really super critical of valve float or the potential for valve float, and you're looking to get that between, let's say, 15 and 30 thousandths of lift or preload, don't worry about it, right? But if it starts to get critical where you're looking for zero or just a minimal preload, like you're looking for 5 thousandths preload, that sort of thing, then push rod length is always very important. But as a rule of thumb, if I'm just working on, let's say, and I just did this a couple of weeks ago, I pulled the head on one of my Jeeps. I grabbed all the push rods, put them in a pile. You know what I mean? Clean them all off and then stuck them back in. I don't pay any regard to what holes they go into. If it's a race engine or a high performance engine where things have been machined, surfaces altered, things maximized, that sort of deal, blueprinted, and I did a whole video on blueprinting, and we talked a lot about push rod length and preload and stuff like that, then yes, then I do pay attention. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Panda Joe Bread. I think push rod deflection is a bigger thing than people give it credit for. I put chromoly push rods, CR push rods, or Molly in everything, screw OEM, even for drivers. I agree with you that push rod deflection is a big deal at higher RPM with higher load valve springs. So if you're running a set like battleship, like triple springs, and you're spinning something like 7,000 or 8,000 RPM, oh, you better believe push rod deflection is a big thing. If you're just heading down the road at 6,500 RPM with a typical 500 lift cam and typical a double valve spring or a single spring with a damper, that sort of deal, no, there is no valve, there's no push rod deflection there. Guarantee it. Zero, you're back. Why'd you come back? You should be with your family. And oh, you're going to go cut the cake. Yes. Again, happy birthday, Mom. And thanks for popping in, Zero. Fritz Fussell, UTG, what's the best pinion angle for a passenger car for best longevity? It's such a broad. You generally shoot for between 2 and 3 thousandths of an inch, 2 or 3 thousandths, did I say, I'm sorry, bro. I'm getting so freaking tired. Puppy, get me up. 2 or 3 degrees downward pinion angle. Where was it getting thousands of an inch from? 2 or 3 degrees downward. There is going to be a spec for whatever it is that you're working on. And a lot of that spec is going to have to do with pinion height, right? Because not all pinions ride in the same plane as far as the drive shaft goes. Example of Ford 9-inch pinion rides on a different plane than an 8 3/4 Chrysler, or 8.8, right? For that matter, stick with Fords. They're in different planes, and that plane is also going to be in relation to the height of the engine and transmission. So they're all going to be a little bit different. As a rule of thumb, a basic rule of thumb, if you just, I'm not going to bother looking up specs. I'm just going to set it up, how I think it should be, between 2 and 3 degrees down. Let's see, Panda Joe Bread. If the springs or the cam don't have enough tension or lift to cause push rod deflection, they should be upgraded to where chromoly push rods should be needed. But what if you don't need that? What if you're just building a freaking driver? Because the vast majority of people who watch, these videos, they're interested in race tech. They're interested in high-end stuff. But the practical application is driver, cruiser, maybe occasional take it to the track, kind of, street strip things that that's beyond what they're going to use. It's beyond what they're going to actually buy or do. They're interested in that technology. They want to know about it because it's fascinating. But no, most people are just building regular drivers and stuff that push rod deflection will never become an issue. Sean, the person is saying to Fritz, I would check your car's factory assembly manual for that. Yeah, there's going to be a spec, but what if he's mixing and matching? What if he's taking a non-stock rear, altered suspension height, or then you really can't go by the factory spec. So I think that's why he was asking, and I gave him a basic rule of thumb. But you're absolutely right, Sean. If it's a factory thing and he's just putting it back together again the way it was in the factory, then yeah, check the service manual. It's only on a service manual, and that'll give you the exact degree. Crossfan crazy, you'll pay more for push rods than a mile. Push rods are expensive, man. Push rods cost a lot more than they should. Now, I'll tell you what I do with push rods. Okay, and I've never shown it in a video because I get criticized. Oh, that's just a hack way to do it, right? But if I'm building a higher revving thing, right, with a hydraulic cam, so there's no, in other words, non-adjustable rockers, and looking for a higher RPM, an engine that's going to pull clean to where the cam runs out of steam, 6,000, 6,500, whatever happens to be. I'll take the hardened end of the push rod, right? So your push rod's hollow tube, and on either side of it, you've got a hardened surface. Well, I'll take one of those to the grinder, okay, and take off a few thousandths of an inch and keep refitting it until I get the clearance I want, and then just polish out the edge. And then that end always goes into the lifter, never into the rocker. The rocker, the part of the push rod that meets the rocker, always has to be a perfectly clean, machined, smooth surface, right? Because it will wear, okay? But the cup in the lifter is hardened. So if there are some imperfections on the push rod, you've shortened it a little bit and you don't have it exactly perfect, it'll be fine. It'll last forever if you put it in the lifter, on the lifter end of things. So don't tell anybody I recommended to do that. That'll be our little secret, okay? All right. So guys, we're done. So, actually, this live went really fast tonight. I do love hanging out with you guys. I honestly do. But puppy, if we haven't been sleeping, so I know that she's going to be up all night again. It'll take a little while for her to become acclimated. So I'm going to call it quits. So our incredible mods, Zero, happy birthday, Zero Mom. Fubar, Mexican Spec, guys, thank you as always for keeping things running smoothly. Everybody who contributed, Super Chat, thank you. Never expected, but always appreciated. It helps the wheels turn here. And everybody who contributed, just your presence and your conversation, thank you equally. I appreciate you guys. You have no idea. If it wasn't for you clicking on this nonsense, that I would have to go get a job. And I am so hardcore unemployable, I would have to turn to a life of crime. So yes, you're keeping the streets safe. Every time you click on one of my videos, you're keeping the streets safe. Thank you. And that's it. I'm calling it quits. Fubar just put up a link to my merch again. So if you're so inclined to buy any of our stuff, you'll find it right there. And Mexican Spec goes live after we do. So if you want to go hang out with Mexican Spec, go over to his channel. And also Jamie over at Dead Dodge Garage, he does a live every Sunday night that overlaps hours. So he'll be on for at least another hour. You can go there, go drop it on both of them, and tell him, tell Jamie I said hi, and that's it. And thank you all. And just like that, I'm out of here. Good night.